The architecture of authenticity. Julian lived in a world of beige walls and hand-me-down sneakers. Every night, he scrolled through feeds of neon-lit parties and skyline views, feeling like a ghost in his own life. To him, being ordinary felt like a slow-growing stain that no amount of scrubbing could remove. He wanted to be the person people looked at, not the one they looked through. The opportunity arrived in the form of Vance, a boy who carried himself like he owned the sunset. When Vance asked Julian where he lived, the words felt like lead in Julian's throat. Instead of the truth, Julian described a glass-walled penthouse downtown, claiming his father was a silent partner in a global tech firm. For the first time, Vance didn't just look at Julian. He leaned in. The lie required maintenance. Julian spent his afternoons in the back of the library, meticulously editing photos. He cropped himself into luxury lobbies and adjusted the lighting to mimic the glow of expensive restaurants. He created a digital ghost of a life, a shimmering architecture of glass that looked perfect from a distance, provided no one looked too closely at the seams. Suddenly, Julian was part of the circle. He spent his weekends with Vance, chasing the aesthetic of the elite. They sat in rooftop lounges where Julian prayed no one would ask for his ID or his credit card. Vance laughed at his jokes and introduced him as the guy with the view, and Julian felt a dizzying high that felt almost like happiness. In the shadows of his new life, Sloane remained. She had been his best friend since they were 5, the only person who knew his real laugh. When she caught him in the hallway and asked why he hadn't answered her texts, Julian felt a pang of guilt. But then, he saw Vance watching from across the quad, and he brushed her off, claiming he was just too busy with family business. "We're headed your way tonight," Vance said on Friday, throwing an arm around Julian's shoulder. "The crew wants to see that legendary view from your balcony. No more excuses, Julian. Let's see how the other half lives." Julian's heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. He nodded, his smile feeling like a mask that was beginning to crack. Julian led them to the downtown high-rise he'd claimed was home, hoping the lobby code wouldn't work so he could make an excuse. But as they approached the glass doors, the real owner stepped out, a man Julian had never seen. "Can I help you kids?" the man asked. Vance looked at the man, then at the building, and finally at Julian's trembling hands. The silence was louder than any shout. Vance didn't get angry. He just laughed, a short, jagged sound that cut deeper than an insult. "You actually photoshopped your whole life, didn't you?" He turned to his friends, and the mocking whispers began. As they walked away, leaving Julian on the sidewalk, he realized that his architecture of glass hadn't just shattered it, had vanished entirely. That evening, Julian sat on his real porch, the one with the peeling paint and the view of the neighbor's driveway. He heard the familiar creak of a bicycle kickstand. Sloane sat down beside him without a word, handing him a crumpled bag of his favorite chips. She didn't ask for an explanation. She just sat there in the quiet, reminding him what it felt like to be seen for who he actually was. Julian learned that the truth is rarely glamorous, but it is solid. He stopped editing his photos and started living in the moments they captured. He and Sloane spent their weekends exploring the city for real, finding beauty in the hidden corners and the ordinary streets. He no longer cared about the view from the top, because he finally liked the view from exactly where he stood.